I pray that everything that is said and spoken is said and spoken in spirit and in truth, and that wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and edification is received. Okay? So, after Instagram started tweaking, I had to get on here to do it on here. So I just share from this point. Okay? I pray that everything that is said and spoken is said and spoken in spirit and in truth, and that wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and edification is received. Now, let me see. What else? Let me see. Let me see if I can. Can't do it. Okay, I can't do it right here. Let me see. I'm trying to share a photo, but I don't think I can do it on Facebook, on YouTube. All right, Shabbat Shalom, sis. Peace, love, light, and healing to you. All right. So, wow. I ain't never got did like that on IG. So give me bear with me for a second, y'all, because I can't believe they was trying to censor this truth. But at the same time, I can understand why they would try to. But it's okay. All right. So we're gonna keep it pushing. So this morning's manna is about strength training your faith. Okay? Strength training your faith. What does it look like to even strength train your faith? What does it look like to even stand in a position to even have faith? Like faith that is not questioned, right? Because right now we're in a system that could potentially change and that could potentially shift on us, right? Now you have to ask yourself, are you in a space of dependence on where you are now, or being comfortable in where you are now? Or can you come out of her like he called us to do? And always, not just mentally, not just spiritually, but physically as well, right? A lot of us have codependence within this system. And one thing I realized about the relationship with the Creator is that you can't depend on him and something else at the same time. He's going to either give you the option to depend on him, or you solely to depend on that. And he has the ability to take his favor away and what you're depending on away from you, especially if it's not tied to him. Okay? And so what faith looks like is being confident even when you're unsure, right? Being confident even when you're unsure. Okay? Confident even when you're unsure. I'm trying to share this real quick. Let me share this real quick. 1 second. It's giving me more options. So we want to have the faith that's going to cause us to be confident even when we're unsure. Because the best way to strength train your faith is to know that the Creator has showed up for you so many times. This is like a built relationship. Your faith being strengthened is like a built relationship that you already know that is dependable, right? That you already know that it's dependable. So the objective is to understand that, the Father does not deal with distrust, dishonesty, or malicious intent of use of his favor to get whatever you need, right? Our faith depends on our trust within the Creator, right? But what does that look like for you when you comfortable? It looks different for you when you're comfortable. It looks different when you're comfortable. But when you're uncomfortable, really determines if your faith is truly activated or not. Now, in Hebrew, there are a couple words for faith, right? But we're gonna jump into it. Because the thing about it is that you cannot depend on Yah and depend on substance at the same time. This is where Hamashiach came in and told the young man that had all the money, man, sell all you got. Because it can look like it can look like losing all that you have. But if you're ready to lose all that you have, you're ready to be in position to receive what's next. Because there's a reward after being faithful, right? We know what faith is. Shalom, shalom, tribe. We know what faith is, and there are multiple words for faith, such as emunah, which is faithfulness. Then you have faith, which is amun. Another word for faith is amun or imun, right? But the word faithful is emith, right? And emith means, let me flip it around for y'all real quick. I'm gonna flip it around and I'm gonna show y'all, since I can't add the picture, because I was adding the pictures on Instagram as a PowerPoint, but I can't add them on here as a PowerPoint. I have to figure that one out. All right, I ain't able to add them on here as a PowerPoint, but these are my notes. These are all the notes that I have. So faithful is emith, right? And faithful puts you in a, being faithful puts you in a position where you already know that your faith is activated. Here's why: because it's firmness. Being faithful is you entering into faith fully. Entering into faith fully, that your trust is certified. And it is what? Sure. So we have firmness, truth, sureness, reliability. That's the word. That's the word. Reliability is the word, right? Reliability. Why? Because we have fully relinquished our ability to depend on ourselves and fully surrender to the will that the Father has over our lives, right? Reliability, stability, and continuance, right? Because when you enter into it, it doesn't stop. When you enter into it, it doesn't stop, okay? And so one of the key importance of having faith is knowing that you won't be able to see, but you can trust that his existence is present, right? Let's get Hebrews chapter 11. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 11 real quick. And I'm gonna try to make it short and sweet. This is like my 4th time jumping on here. And I haven't gotten on YouTube, but Instagram started kicking me off. It muted out my sound. Then I had to jump back on a couple times, but it's all good. Okay, so here it is. Here it is, right? We want to read it like this. This is Hebrews chapter 11. This is the book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. It says, "But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh for he that cometh to the Most High Yah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." See, this faith is not activated through just asking. This faith is through diligence of obedience, because faith is one of the highest levels of favor. In order for you to actually receive this faith that's eternal, you have to have favor within the sight of Yah. And it can't be wavering favor. It has to be immediate favor. It has to be active favor. It has to be active faith and immediate faith, firmness and sureness and reliability. Firmness and sureness and reliability. When we look at the Hebraic word emith, we're going to actually see how this works, right? But we're going to get to it. It says, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6, "But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High Yah must believe that he is." So before you even can receive in it, before you can even receive any benefits, you must believe that he exists. Faith is a benefit, but it's an eternal benefit. It's not, it's something that you receive, but it's also something that you use. Favor is something that you receive, and it shows that you have it, right? But faith is something that you receive, but it's also something that you use, right? Why did it call faith a shield? Because your trust, between being able to trust a person and being distrustful, determines whether you can protect that person or not. If I trust in Yah, I relinquish power. So I'm giving him full authority to be able to carry me and guide me the way that I need to be carried and guided. But if I distrust him, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to do something disobedient to where he can't use me, nor can he step in and intercede for me, because now I have went another way. Being able to see without truly seeing that he showed up, but that's a relationship that's supposed to be built up. You know how hard it is for most people to believe something that they can't see, to believe something that they can't communicate with verbally, that their eyes can't see or that their ears can't hear. But he showed results. Think about the time where the children of Israel went into, was coming out of captivity. He showed them 10 plagues. And guess how many times they tried them in the wilderness? 10 times. Those 10 times showed they distrust for the Father. And each time it caused them to go, and each time they distrusted the Father, they were prone to sin. They provoked the Most High with a golden calf because they thought that they were separated from the Creator. But he had already showed you what he did 10 times in Egypt. And now you go into the wilderness and try him 10 times. That's 20 pieces of proof. We can go through it. We'll go through it another time for another day. But that is 20 pieces of proof that the Father has showed up for the children of Israel multiple times before. So with those 20 pieces of proof, here we are now not seeing anything, can trust and believe that he truly did that, because it was all of the elements that we see, that we can see visibly now today. We can see locusts today. We can see frogs today. We can see water, you know what I'm saying? We can see a river today, and some of them has turned to blood today. You know what I'm saying? We every summer, you know what I'm saying, it's a gang of gnats in the field when we go out to the park to take our children to the park. We see these things that he actually used to show us his hand. And when he actually showed us his hand, we had this level of distrust to where we couldn't trust him. But he said first, in order for you to receive anything, you got to believe first. It says, but without faith, it is impossible to please the Creator. Because you're going to do what you feel is most safe for you and not trust in Yah, which is going to do the most safe thing for you overall. Which he's going to do the most safe thing for you overall. Let's go to James. Let's go to the book of James, chapter 1. The book of James, chapter 1. Let's see. Find it. All right. The book of James, chapter 1, we're going to start at verse 2. This is the book of James, chapter 1, verse 2. All right. It says, my brother, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. Why count it all joy? Because the joy comes from you knowing that your relationship is built with the Creator. So there has to come a point of time where you're going through trials and tribulations where you do not fret, where you do not become weary, right? It says, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, right? But let patience have her perfect work, right? Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahuwah, that giveth to all men liberally. That's freely. We don't pay for the wisdom that we receive. It was freely given to us by our what? By our surrenderance and by our availability to be receptive to his word. And you have to make yourself available in order to be receptive to his word. It says, but let him ask in faith. It says, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahuwah, that giveth to all men freely, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. And it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, right? Let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of a sea driven with the wind and tossed, right? The wavering comes from dishonesty, distrust, not being sure, and not being firm, right? When we read the definition of faithful, which is emith, that's the Strong's H571. Let me slow down. H571, which is faithful. And we know that being faithful causes you to enter into faith fully. Being faithful causes you to enter into faith fully. Okay? Because if you don't enter into faith fully, you will be as the one that is wavering, unsure. But when you're faithful, firmness, truth, sureness, reliability. This is my lifeline. This is the truth that I depend on, right? But if we haven't went through anything detrimental, how can we know that our faith will be truly activated? We have to go through things in order for us to even build it up to this point. We got to go through more things in order for us to even build it up even more. Imagine facing the things that imagine right now facing the things that we have said that we would face in 2030, right? Food shortages, famine, riots, civil unrest, right? Where do you incorporate Yah in your safety? Where do you incorporate Yah in your safety? You incorporate Yah in your safety through faith, right? Because it is impossible to please him without it, right? Like, imagine you trying your best to be the most obedient person possible in the sight of Yah, because we do all things in the sight of Yah. He sees us, our inward parts, and our intentions in everything that we do, so that there can be nothing hid from him, right? And so imagine being the most faithful person you can be in the sight of Yah, and him showing favor to you constantly, continually, and you sitting back unsure about what's going to happen, but you continue to go to the Father in faith. Do you think we serve an Abba that fails? He will never fail you. And this is what you have to tell yourself. And when we're talking about strength training of faith, yeah, it's like it's a different feeling. It hurts in certain instances, right? But like I said, you're not going to see, but can you believe? You're not going to see, but can you believe? Can your dependence be solely geared towards giving it to the Creator and not in stockpiling and not in anything else outside of that? But I'm not never negating or never eliminating the fact that you should prepare, because we have time to prepare. Noah prepared. So this is not outside of preparation, but let's understand something about it. Here is where that comes in. When Noah was in that ark, the Most High wrath came down. He told Noah to close himself down in that junk. When the Father wrath came upon the earth, Noah was in the ark. But was he safe? He was safe enough. But guess what happened when he was in that ark? What happened when he was in the ark was that it got turned upside down. The whole ark got turned upside down. And guess what? Noah still had to cry out, because he was unsure of his life even at that very moment. And guess what the Father said? Then the Father remembered Noah. Because when his wrath is present, nothing else even matters. He blanked out, basically. The Most High said he blacked out. He blacked out. He let it go. He let his wrath roll. He let his wrath pour in. He blacked out. And he said, when Noah cried out, he said, then I remembered him. He's like, dang, son, I almost forgot about you down there. Because, yeah, I was going to work. I was going to town. I was making sure they were going to drown. Oh, well, you were going to town. It was like, oh, okay, I done filled it up enough, right? But even Noah's faith was tried even inside the ark. Even Noah's faith was tried even inside the ark. He had all that he needed. But the calling on the name of Yah and his obedience made it stop. Because Yah what? Remembered him. Imagine the wrath of the Father coming. And you a chosen child of the Creator. And his wrath is basically surrounding you. To the point to where you feeling like you becoming consumed. It can happen like that. But calling it out, speaking his name, letting it be known, I have no other dependence besides you. I have no other dependence. At some point, Noah couldn't even depend on the ark. Because the Father tossed it upside down. And made him feel like, oh, this thing finna, hey, we finna sink. At some point, he couldn't. But the Father calmed it. In your relationship, depending on your relationship and how your relationship is fashioned, will determine what type of results you're going to get when you truly need them. So it's very important. The most important part of faith being activated fully is your obedience. Because it takes obedience for you to trust. And trust is what activates the faith. And not only just trust, but being firm and sure. And solely relying on his word. That's what it said. Right? Faithful. Okay? Faithful. Full of faith. Faith fully. All right? Myth, firmness, truth, sureness, reliability, stability, continuance, right? So now, let's look at the Hebrew word. Let's get the Hebrew breakdown, okay? Let's look at the Hebrew breakdown. The first character in the word faith, faithful, which is myth, right? The first Hebraic character is Aleph. Aleph. This is strength, power, leader, and the pictographic definition, the pictographic meaning would be an ox head, which represents strength, power, and leadership, right? This strength, power, and leadership comes through all of these concepts: firmness, truth, sureness, reliability, right? Trusting in the strength of Yah, because this doesn't belong to us unless we give it to Yah and allow. And he allows us to possess this, right? Strength, power, leader, ox head. Okay? Now, in order for you to get through the obstacles, you have to be fortified, firm, reliable, and sure about the strength, power, and leadership that Yah has when you depend on him. Right? Now, when you have that, this middle part, this second character, which is the middle between you and the results, right? This is the middle grounds between you and the results. You know why? Because once you build up the strength, you have to make it through the chaos. And once you make it through the chaos, and this second character is a mem, which represents water, chaos, mighty, blood. You might have to go through all these things. Facing water means that you're facing a trial. Most people can't swim, so then that means that you're facing a challenge. Most people don't like challenges. In order for you to have complete peace, you must make it through the chaos, and you must eliminate all forms of chaos, any authority that is attached to chaos, right? Hallelujah. Anything that is stronger than you, or even in a case, you might have to shed blood. But when the children of Israel had to stand at the waters at Jericho, this is a representation of making it through something. Faith gives an understanding. Being faithful gives you the understanding that you have to make it through something, right? So this word emith, which is the beginning of the word emith, or beginning of the word faithful, starts with strength. Faith starts with strength, and you need that strength to get through the water. Trust, truth, trusting that you can get through the water, trusting that you can get through the chaos, trusting that you can get through that mighty army, trusting that your blood will be reserved, or that you will be strong enough to overcome anything that is seeking blood, right? So faith starts with strength, and you must get through the chaos. And afterwards, which is the third character, which is the Tav, which shows you the mark, right? So now you have to note that the Father showed up for you, right? Make sure you make that footnote that the Father showed up for you, because this is the category that faith brings you into your complete relationship with the Father. First, you have to have that strength and that trust. That strength comes with trust, firmness, reliability, stability, and continuance. You got to have that when we're talking about faith. Why do you think it's a shield? Because it's a form of protection. It's a weapon, but it's a form of protection. This is a weapon that protects you, right? From chaos. Strength to make it through the chaos. And when you see the results, you mark it down. You make it a sign or a signal monument, right? Meaning that once he shows up for you, don't forget it, because it's a sign for every time that he shows up for you. This is how the word works in the Hebraic sense, right? This is how the word works in the Hebraic sense. And it's not hard to understand, right? You're not going to see. You're not going to see, but can you believe? How strong is your faith? Is it strengthened? Because the strength is going to allow you to get through any issue. This is a representation of crossing over or getting past something. Aleph, Mem, Tav. Tav is the sign that you receive after your faith has been activated and the Father has showed you the results of him showing up with that stretched out arm. Let me know if that's clear. Do y'all see how that works? Shabbat shalom, Maki. Shalom, shalom. Do y'all see how that works? That's important. So the whole thing has to be geared towards reliability. It has to be geared towards reliability, right? It's like going to the gym, right? It's like going to the gym. And in order for you to see the results, you got to work out. In order for you to see the results, you got to work out. Also, in order for you to see the results, you got to burn. You got to feel some pain. You got to go through some resistance and strain in order for you to see the results. Same with your faith. You're going to go through things. And the Father at that moment is trying you to see if you're full of faith or activate your faith fully. To activate your faith fully. But the problem that we run into sometimes is that, say for instance, we may have a significant other that's not as full of faith as we are, right? We may have a significant other that's not as full of faith as we are. Your greatest obstacle then is to hold to the faith that you know that you have and continue to wait on the results. That significant other, and being a man, your faith is the most important. Being a man. Now, if your woman or your wife has more faith than you, it's going to be a problem. But the thing about it is that when a woman gets in a relationship with a man, she has to be able to trust, not him. She don't need to trust him. She needs to trust his relationship with the Creator, but because that's going to determine the results. If you don't have no relationship with the Creator, baby, you doomed. I ain't lying. I ain't lying. Don't trust him. Trust his relationship with the Creator. That way you take him out of the equation for blaming him for anything. Take him out of the equation. And once you take him out of the equation, you will see that that man is not the sole provider. Yah is. So you can't put it all on him. Hallelujah. You can't put it all on him. And so, if you have an unbelieving spouse, as a man, holding to your ability to know that the results are sure, because you've seen this before. They may not have seen it, but you've seen this before. I know the results are sure. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? And you have the ability at that time to be able to encourage and influence to let your significant other know that it's okay. But when it happens like that, it's like when the results come, make sure you footnote that thing. Because what's the last character of the word emith? To mark, to sign, or signal monument. Right? You gotta make sure you footnote. Hey, boo, you remember when the Father did what he did? Now I need you to go ahead and strengthen that thing, because you see that we can depend on him now. Yeah. You see that when it's out of my hands, it's in his. You see that now. I need you to go ahead and tighten up. I need you to go ahead and tighten up. Because it's a different world. It's a different world when it comes down to faith. It's a whole different world. What? How you think Noah felt when he was in that ark and the Father turned the ark upside down and he was like, whoa, he finna get me too? I'm sure he was in there questioning like, I did all you said, do. In there upside down. The Most High turned the ark upside down. Noah was in there like this. I did everything. Man, I kid you not. Imagine the Father turning your ark upside down. You gonna call on him in that position. I'm like, I can only imagine. That's why I just had to put myself through the motion for a second, just for a split second. But let me tell y'all like this. I just got back driving trucks August of last year. And 2012, I went through a tornado. I stopped. I didn't see it, but I saw all of the wind kicking up everything. The wind was kicking up everything. I parked on the side of the highway. The sheriff comes. He tells me, you can't stop right here. You got to keep going. He said it's a tornado coming across the highway. I said, I think he wanted me to go through it just to see a show. Because he turned around and he went back the other way. I'm like, oh, okay. Bet. Y'all, when I got under this overpass, I couldn't see nothing. Truck rocking like this. I look up in the sky. It's green, cloudy, dark, cloud, green, wind. I couldn't even keep the truck straight. I'm like this. Picked up my phone. I was so frantic. I dropped it. Finna call my mama, tell her I ain't gonna make it. But my mouth automatically started speaking. Protection, covering, guidance from the Father, which made me make it through. And I've always had, from that point on, I've always had weather anxiety. I've always had real bad weather anxiety. Made me quit several times. But this go round, knowing how he brought me through that time, makes me come to an understanding. Now I still prostrate myself before the Father, and if I feel like I'm going through something detrimental, I pull over and I say, I will let your will be done. I don't rush. I don't try to do my own will when the Father is working. No more. If you working, Abba, I'm finna sit down if I can. Now I went through some snow and ice, and there was nowhere for me to park. There was nowhere for me to pull over. I was going up and down mountains, mountains, in and out of curves. There was no straight path. I didn't have no signal, nor did I have anywhere to pull off at. And every other space on this little mini road didn't have guardrails. And I was facing mountains up, and there was mountains down, and I didn't have no room to make no mistakes. I didn't have no room to make no mistakes. And you're going to come into a situation in your relationship, in your building process with Yah, where you will be left with no room to make no mistakes. But if he's covering you, guiding you, and protecting you, you're going to make it through. But that is determined on your obedience, right? Let's go to the book of Romans chapter 10, verse 17. Salakia for the extra animation, y'all. I just thought about my elder father, Noah, how I could only imagine how he was tossed upside down in that ark. And his dependence on the ark was gone. You know why? Because he started to call on the Father. He didn't feel like he was even protected or safe inside of the ark. So that's what I mean by, even though you're supposed to prepare, your dependence can't go into what you prepare. Noah was a perfect example for me for that, right? Romans chapter 10 and 17. Romans chapter 10, verse 17. Again, Salakia for the extra animation, y'all. Man. And I don't do that. I don't do the extra animation, but I felt for my brother Noah, man, for my elder forefather Noah. How he, matter of fact, I'm gonna get that. Let me see if I can find it. Let me get Romans real quick. Matter of fact, Romans is right here. Romans chapter 10. Do I? Man, this Bible so old, I don't even know if I got chapter 10 in here. Okay, yeah, I got it. All right, so 10, verse 17. Hey, if anybody know where that story at directly, where Noah called on the Father, and it said, and I believe that it said the Father remembered him, and all of the animals in there were screaming, right? If you could find that for me real quick while I read this, I would greatly appreciate it. This is the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 17. And we're going to read it to 21. All right? Book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 17. And so then, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the debar of Elohim, the word of Yah. Right? Faith come by hearing, and by hearing the word of Yah. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went all in the earth. All went, Salakia. Verse 18. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words into the ends of the world. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you. But Isaiah is very bold, and saith, I was found of them that sought me not, and I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But to Israel he saith, all day long I have stretched forth my hand unto a disobedient, gainsaying people. Right? And this is where I was talking about when the Father said, man, hey, I showed you 10 plagues. I gave you 10 reasons to trust me. The Father said he gave us 10 plagues, and he gave us 10 reasons to trust him. Then the Father said, I pulled you out of captivity, and you complained and you murmured, and you asked for things in the wilderness, and I gave it to you. 10 times again, they murmured against the Father. And each time they murmured, they showed a level of distrust. Each time they murmured, they showed a level of distrust. 10 times he gave them results. And 10 times they murmured, and 10 more times, every time that they murmured in the wilderness, he gave them more results. Wait a minute. They wanted meat to the full. Much gratitude for that scripture, Aki. Shalom, shalom. Salaki. Much gratitude for that scripture, sis. Shalom, shalom. We wanted meat to the full. He gave it to us till it started coming out of our nose. We don't have a cutoff when it comes down to greed. We want it all. We can't be like that. But it should have been enough of what he showed us in Egypt those 10 times. It should have been enough. Should have. Right? But it wasn't. We constantly, what is saying? But Israel, he said, all day long, I have stretched forward my hand unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. Man. And I just can't believe, like, yeah, I think that's it. Let me see if I can find this in Genesis chapter 8 real quick. It's just kind of it's crazy because even those notions of person, the way the children of Israel just kept being disobedient, why didn't they classify that? Why didn't the Father classify that as autistic or bipolar, right? Because it really ain't no such thing. People give these titles. Now, I won't say that for autism, Salakia. Autism is a new thing that I think that it was generated from, I believe that it's lab work. Because when I was growing up, there was no such thing. But being bipolar is just another form of saying being resistant or doing the opposite of what you're told to do in a way. But that's neither here nor there, because I'm not a medical physician to even diagnose anybody concerning that. But I do believe that the way that the children of Israel constantly denied the word of Yah, gave bipolar, right? But the Father didn't classify it as that. He classified it as disobedience. Like, why y'all can't get right? They had attention deficit disorder then. Why? Because when the children of Israel came out of the wilderness, came out of Egypt, he showed them the plague 10 times. He showed them the plague 10 times. And they went into the wilderness. Moses left them there for 40 days. And it only took you 40 days to turn back to your wicked ways. That's attention deficit disorder. What? Like, he showed you immaculate things that we can't even see, and we here now in this day believing that it can be done, that is true, right? Hallelujah. Let me see. With him in the ark, and God made a wind pass over the earth. Okay, every living thing. Hold on, y'all. Give me just a second. Let me go back one. I think I'm getting close to it. Let me see if I can find it. I think I'm getting close to it. In every 4 years, 7 days, and rain upon the earth 40 days. Sure, off the face of the earth, and Noah did according. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wives, and his sons' wives, into the ark because of the water of the flood, of clean beasts and of clean beasts and of clean beasts that are not clean. And there went into unto, all right. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days. And in the 6th, and it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of flood were upon the earth. Hold on. 6, 7, the waters were upon the earth, every beast. And when it went into the 2 and 2, and they went in, male and female, and the flood was 40 days, and the water increased and bare upon the ark, and it was lifted above the earth, and the water prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the water, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered 50 cubits above did the water prevail, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of the fowl and of the cattle and of the beast and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And every man and all whose nostrils was the breath of life of all that was in the dry land died, and every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping thing, and the fowl in the heaven of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, that and they that were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. And God and Yah remembered Noah and every living thing and all cattle that was with him in the ark. And the Most High made a wind to pass over the earth, and the water assuaged the fountains. Okay, what I think I'm looking for is probably in the book of Jasher. Jasher will probably open this story up. I haven't read it in the book of Jasher in a minute, but it talked about how Noah was in the ark and it got flipped upside down, and all of the cattle and all of the animals inside of the ark, all of the animals that were inside of the ark. Now it's coming back to me. I think it's in Jasher, right? Everything that was inside of the ark flipped upside down. Everything that was in the ark flipped upside down. And he cried out with a mighty voice and let it be known, like, man, and that's why I said here at the beginning of 8, and the Most High remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark, and the Most High made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep, of the windows of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven. So the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven. So it was water coming from both ends. It was waters coming from the ocean, lifting up out of springs, water springs, from the deep and from the heavens. So it was water closing in like this. It was water rising up, and it was water coming down. Man. But let's go back to Hebrews chapter. Let's go back to Hebrews chapter what was it? Chapter 11. Yeah. Hebrews chapter 11. I'm going to walk through this, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Hebrews chapter 11. 1 second. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 7. So I read Hebrews, I'm going to start at verse 6. It says, book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Elohim must believe that he is what? Everything. Is what? Capable. Is what? Sure. Is what? Reliable. Right? Is what? Stable and gives stability. Must believe that he is all those things, right? Must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. A rewarder. Come on. That's the key word right there. Your trust and your belief and your faith within the Father will reward you. What? People think that, oh, I'm just going to do it just to be in servitude to the Father. Oh, I got to release this and let go of this just so I can be good in the sight of somebody that don't see me. And this is what creates unbelief for a lot of people. This is what creates unbelief for a lot of people. Right? Because the things that they are afraid of stopping, they are afraid that they won't have no substitute. Right? You want to stop fornicating, but what's the substitute? Marriage. Simple. There's a substitute for everything that you do wrong. Right? Because it says he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Verse 7. It says, by faith, Noah being warned of Yahuwah of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, preparing an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and came heir of the righteousness which is by faith. Hallelujah. It says, by faith, Noah, being warned of Yah, of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house. Preparation. Faith comes with preparation. Can't do it without it. Hallelujah. Prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. There's righteousness that is by faith, that comes by faith, that comes through faith. Okay? Verse 8, it says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed. And he went out, not knowing whether he went. By faith, he sojourned in a land of promise, and in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which had foundation, whose builder and maker is Yahuwah. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. So that is that's the benefit of having faith, is that when the Father promised you something, he is a creator of he's the creator of all creators, and he's the creator of his word, and his word does not what? Come back void. His word does not what? Come back void. It won't come back void. Right? It won't come back void. So with that being said, I pray that everything that was said and spoken in spirit and in truth, and that wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and edification was received. I pray the Father continues to be a front guard, rear guard, and a hedge of protection around you all, and that his will be done in your life. Activate your faith by relying on Yah, quieting out the noise, and hearing and adhering to his word, right? so that we can hear fully what he's asking us, so that we can activate faith fully, right? So that we can activate faith fully, okay? And being faithful comes with the trials and the tests of making it through any obstacle that he puts before you. Releasing yourself from doubt, releasing yourself from fear, releasing yourself from distrust, right? And releasing yourself from the dependence of your own understanding. You cannot lean to your own understanding, right? And so, with that being said, I pray that this word was a blessing to someone and it ministered to someone's ruach or spirit, and that this is something that you could actually take with you and utilize as a tool in your spiritual walk and in your relationship with the Creator. All right? With that being said, peace, love, light, and healing to y'all. Shabbat shalom. A myth. Yes, a myth. That's the word. That's the word. Faith full. Faith fully. Activating faith fully. Right? Hey, if you want these notes, real quick, if you want these notes, sis, if you on Instagram and you follow me on Instagram, shoot me a text in my inbox, and I'll shoot you these notes as well if you need these notes, because I wrote the Hebrew letters down as well, right? But I didn't actually write out I didn't bring each character together to make the sentence. That's what I normally do, but it's some short notes, and everything else was pretty much based off the spirit. But I'll send you the page. If you want the notes, just hit me on my hit me in my DMs on Instagram, and we can run it up like that. All right. Peace, love, light, and healing. Shabbat shalom. All right.